Today I'm going to be reviewing the Kobalt XTR 24V half-inch impact wrench. I'm also going to do a teardown on this impact wrench and disassemble the outer casing and show you what's inside. I also have an older model impact wrench, and I'm going to compare the difference between the two impact wrenches, so that if you currently have this model, is it going to be worth the upgrade? Let's find out. Lowe's is currently selling this impact wrench as a whole kit that includes the impact wrench, the battery, and the charger inside a plastic case. And they do not sell this as a bare tool, so if you really need the bare tool, you can't buy this as a bare tool. You have to buy the entire kit, which is a bummer, because if you already invested in this 24V tool line, you probably have a whole bunch of batteries already, so there's no point buying the entire kit. So here's the inside of the case. You got the half-inch impact wrench, the new ultimate output 4 Ah battery, and a small charger. So Kobalt actually skimmed down on this kit, because my previous purchase with my 24V half-inch impact wrench set, it has a bigger charger, a fast charger. This is a 4.5 amp charger. This one is less than 2 amp. There's a space for the battery, so that if your impact wrench has a battery attached, it would also fit the battery down here, and then you can install another battery here. And then another nice thing about this case is that the battery compartment, even though it's designed for the newer ultimate output 4 Ah battery, if you have an older model battery, the 4 Ah, it will just fit in here just fine, just like that. And the same thing for this slot here. If you have an older model battery, it would just fit in here just fine. So very nice design with the battery, so that it would fit both the newer and older generation batteries. And I know somebody's gonna ask, is this gonna fit the older model impact wrench? Well, let's find out. No, it does not fit. The older model is longer this way and shorter this way, and therefore the bottom part of the impact does not go down here, but it's resting on the top, so it sticks out quite a bit. And then this part here is also sticking out because it's way too long. Let's see if I can close the case. Nope, it doesn't close. So there you have it. This is everything you have in this kit. There are no other accessories. Well, there's a user manual, but that's it. So next I'm going to compare the difference between the new model and the old model. On the old model, you got the mounts for the belt clips and your bits on both sides. On the new model, there's one here, nothing on the other side. And it's only on the left side. So it's only made for right-handed people. And if you're left-handed, too bad. Not like you want to hang this on your belt, because this is very heavy. It's going to break your belt or your back. But still, you can have more options to mount your bits and your cash on it. Did I just say cash? Alright, let's try this. It doesn't fit. This screw doesn't fit. Well, it's not that the screw doesn't fit. Inside there is missing the hex nut. Here we go. Just to be clear, this is my own nut. Alright, Kobalt, you owe me one. It's gonna fit in there. Yes! 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 Well, it kind of goes in there. So what I gotta do next is to put my screw in. And then I pull. Yes! Just like that. A little bit more. Yep. Now it's in. Now I can mount my belt on it. There. Got George Washington here. And let's see. Like so. And boom. Now I have money to buy lunch. But some say that's not enough to buy lunch. Well, how about this? 40 cents at Walmart, I can buy 2. Alright, enough of that goofy stuff. Let's go back to the review. Now let's measure the exact dimensions of these 2 impact wrenches. We use 2 pieces of foam here and put against the tip of the tool. It's exactly 10 inches. The XTR tool, exactly 9 inches. So it's exactly 1 inch shorter than the old model. Let's measure the height of the tool. Old model, 9¼ inches. On the XTR model, the highest point is right here. About 10¼ So the XTR is exactly 1 inch taller than the old model, but on this dimension it's exactly 1 inch shorter. Got my scale here. Let's compare the weight between the two. Old model, almost 6 pounds. New model, almost 7 pounds. So the new model is over 1 pound heavier. Let's see, with battery, the old model, 7 pounds, about 11 ounces. New model with battery, 8 pounds, 9 ounces. So still with the battery, it's still 1 pound heavier than the old model. Even though the new model battery is a little bit lighter than the old model battery, but with the battery it is still 1 pound heavier. Over 8.5 pounds or 3.9 kilogram, almost 4 kilogram. This thing is heavier than the US Marines M4 service rifle loaded. Holding this on my hand feel like I'm going to war. It's heavier than the rifle. If you have the old model battery and you don't want to use the new battery, the old model battery would still fit in here and works just fine. The biggest difference between the 2 impact wrenches is that the newer model has 3 speeds and it is electronically controlled, so you can adjust speed 1, speed 2 and speed 3. Whereas the old model, you don't have that, so it's single speed. Moment you press on the trigger, it will go at full speed. Now let's try it. This is speed 1, speed 2 and speed 3. And have my decibel meter here, and let's measure the difference between the two. The older model first. About 86 decibel. Let's try the new model. Almost 100 decibel. So the new model is definitely louder, but the pitch is lower. Now let's try the noise level on other speed settings. So let's try speed number 2. About 90 decibel. Let's try speed number 1. $83 decibel. Now let's take a look at the detailed specs I got from Lowe's website. So on the left we got the first gen impact range, and on the right we got the XTR impact range. Now let's take a look at other specs. The impact per minute for the old model is 2400, whereas the new XTR model, it only has 2100 impacts per minute. Maximum torque on the old model 650 foot-pound, whereas the XTR model 1200 foot-pounds. That's almost twice the torque. That's a huge difference. Also the speed on the old model, single speed 1900 RPM, whereas the XTR model has 3 speed, 900, 1350 and 1900 RPM. So next step is to do some real life tests to see if there is any real difference in the real performance between the two impact ranges. We got a 10-inch long latch screw with 1/2 inch diameter. So let's try this and compare the performance between the two. So first up is the first gen impact range. Next is the XTR impact range with the 4 amp hour ultimate output battery. So let's take a look at my video editor to compare the performance between the two impact ranges. The first video clip is for the first gen impact range. The second clip is the XTR, and this is the audio profile of the video clip, and you can see this part here, this is where it starts and this is where it ends, and you can see this area here is bigger than this area. That means the first gen takes longer to complete compared to the XTR. And for the first generation impact range, it takes 11 seconds. For the XTR, it takes only 9.8 seconds. So the XTR is 1.2 seconds faster than the first generation impact range, and that's roughly about a little bit over 10% faster than the first generation. Well, this is the biggest latch screw that I can find around here, but I think for a test that requires a lot more torque, the XTR is gonna outperform the first gen a lot more. And not to mention, the first gen impact range is not a slouch either. This impact range is a very good impact range that has a very good performance. My next test, I want to see how this impact range performs in removing lug nuts for the car, because a lot of people buy this to remove lug nuts for their car. So here we go. Speed number 3. That was fast. So as you can see, it can remove 5 lug nuts from my wheel in no time at all. So if you repair cars a lot, this is a must-have. Even occasional repair, like removing your wheels or repair brakes, this is still a must-have. So next is tear down time. I'm going to open the cover of both these impact driver and show you what's inside. So here they are, completely disassembled, and on the left we got the old model, on the right we got the XTR model, and they look completely different. And not just that, the motors are completely different and the controllers are different too. So first let's take a look at the first generation impact wrench. And we've got the motor, motor controller, and down here is also another controller. So there are two controllers on this impact wrench, whereas the XTR model, there's one single controller down here. So let's take a closer look at the motor. This is a brushless DC motor with Hall sensor wire. So on this board we have a connector, the white connector here, with the Hall sensor wire. It has 6 pins. And then we've got the power cable that has 3-phase power cable. We got the yellow, blue, and another wire inside there. We've got the rotor on the inside and the stator on the outside that has 6 of these coils. So this motor is basically just like the motor on your electric bike that has 3-phase wire and a Hall sensor wire. Now let's take a look at the XTR impact wrench. On this impact wrench, the case is actually a 3-piece case. We got 2 pieces on the handle and 1 piece that is housing for the motor. So this thing is one single piece of plastic, whereas on the older model we only have 2 pieces of plastic that sandwich together. The biggest difference I can see between the two impact wrenches is the size of the motor. On the XTR model, the motor is 6 cm in diameter, whereas on the old model 4.5 cm. And you can see here the size difference. The XTR motor is a lot bigger. So that's why the torque on the XTR model is twice as much as the old model. Look at that. That's huge. The length of the motor is about the same, but this one, the diameter, is a lot bigger. It's 30% bigger than the older model. On the XTR model, there are some very big rubber gaskets, and this is for absorbing the vibration from the motor to your hand. So when you hold your impact wrench at the handle, the vibration is going to go through here, and then this will absorb a lot of vibration before it gets to your hand. That means if you work all day long using the XTR impact wrench, you will feel less tired compared to the old model, or even though it's 1 pound heavier. The motor on the XTR model is different. It does not have a Hall sensor wire. The only wires that go to the motor is a 3-phase power cable. The Hall sensor cable is nowhere to be found. So this is called a brushless DC Hall sensorless motor. So here is the inside of the motor of the XTR model. We got the rotor with permanent magnet, and this is a very strong magnet. Inside we got the stator with 6 coils. These coils are a lot bigger than the previous model. So here is the closer look at the rotor. It has a bearing on the front, another bearing on the back, so I got dual bearing. And the motor is mounted onto the plastic case of the impact by just 2 screws. So here is what the motor looks like. That's the case. So here's the inside of the head of the impact wrench. We got a washer, and that's the anvil. And we got a huge spring down here. This is built like a tank. And here's the aluminum casing. The assembly of this impact wrench is quite simple. So this is the head of the impact wrench, and you can see the planetary gear inside. This goes straight onto the motor, just like that. Okay, and then this whole assembly go right onto the plastic, and that's it. And that means it's also very simple to repair. There are 3 separate components. We got the head of the impact, we got the motor, and we got the controller. So any one of these components fail, it's going to be very easy to swap in and out. Here's a closer look at the controller. So it only has one single controller with a very big heatsink, and encased in some kind of silicone. And then we got the trigger here, and that's it. So there you have it. For those who have the older model impact wrench, is it worth the upgrade? For me, the answer is absolutely yes. There's no question about that. It is a little bit heavier, 1 pound heavier, but it gives you a chance to work out while you're working, and you can save money on a gym membership. And that's all I have for now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.